Hi, everybody. This is Seth, Head of Operations here at QUOINE, and I am joined today by Damian Cummings, the CEO and founder of PEOPLEWAVE. We are incredibly excited to have you and tell the story of PEOPLEWAVE. Damian, welcome.
Seth, thank you very much for having me, and for everyone kind of listening in today, hi.
Great. So I guess as many people know, we are partnering with PEOPLEWAVE to help you on your ICO journey starting from tomorrow. If I look at my tick down and the ticker, we're actually down to the hours at this point. And, you know, it's really, really exciting for us. I think it's going to be starting at 5 p.m. Singapore time on May the 31st. So hopefully an auspicious day. And Damian, you and I, we've gotten to know each other the past few weeks or maybe months at this point. Why don't you tell us a little bit about your background and what you were doing before you got involved in PEOPLEWAVE?
Sure, happy to. Thanks, Seth. Well, you know, my background is not in traditional HR, and you know, PEOPLEWAVE is a HR tech company, and we solve a number of issues around HR and performance management and data, which we'll get into a little later. But my background is very much in digital data and marketing. So I've spent the last 25 years in leading digital transformation efforts. I started out at McKinsey & Company, and I spent 4 years there in Sydney, where I'm from. And I know my accent is very strange and weird, but originally I was from Australia. So g'day. So 25 years I've spent after McKinsey into corporate jobs. Most recently, I was moved up to Singapore 10 years ago, where I've actually worked at companies like Dell, where I was managing their e-commerce, their marketing, and so on. I moved into Samsung, where I was the regional marketing director for Asia Pacific, excluding Korea. So if you're from Korea, hi. Samsung was obviously well known there. Then I moved to Philips, where I was the chief marketing officer for Asia Pacific. And then my last job before I founded PEOPLEWAVE was at Standard Chartered Bank, where I was the global head of digital, looking after a lot of their marketing, their data, and obviously their digital transformation.
Got it. That fantastic background. And I think you're bringing a lot of those, as I've learned about the project, I can see you've brought a lot of those experiences to bear in the PEOPLEWAVE project. So before we start going into PEOPLEWAVE, tell me about your first Bitcoin transaction and where you were, how it came about.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. So we at PEOPLEWAVE, we've been in business for a couple of years, and we've been collecting a lot of data, doing some interesting things around performance reviews and employee data. And earlier this year, we saw the hype of Bitcoin, the hype of ICOs through 2017 into early 2018. And we got approached by a few people saying, hey, is ICO a particular option for PEOPLEWAVE? Is your business kind of, is it evolving into the blockchain? And you know, I thought, I hadn't really kind of investigated fully. So the first thing I did was actually do that. I went out and bought some Ether and I bought some Bitcoin, not a lot, but I bought it actually when it was all in the dip around about earlier this year in the first quarter. So it was an interesting experience. That was in Singapore, where the regulation was a little bit easier in terms of liquidity. It was as simple as actually using a credit card, going and buying some Bitcoin and ETH, and having a digital wallet set up. It was super simple. In fact, it was too easy. And that actually was one of the deciding factors of why we wanted to pursue an ICO. It just means it's really easy for people to contribute to an ICO or be part of a business. And, you know, it's not a particularly large hurdle to get involved.
Great, great. So it's interesting. So you're coming new to the space, but you haven't wasted any time, Damian. So tell everyone a little bit. Let's start about, first of all, the problem that PEOPLEWAVE is trying to solve and the new ecosystem. What are the issues in the current HR space that you're really trying to address with the project?
Sure. Well, if you look at the stats, and here's where we started out. Well, let me go back in time. I spent all that time doing digital and marketing jobs for some very large companies. And what happened is that in my job at the bank, I was laid off. I was actually retrenched and made redundant. And I had fantastic results. Our projects were kicking ass. We're doing really, really well. But what then happened is, you know, there was a change in political environment. My boss left, and then I was actually kind of, my job was made redundant. And I thought, that's really unfair. That's not right. And I've known a lot of good people who've actually had similar experiences. So I wanted to take everything that I've done in digital and data and reapply that into the HR world, which has frankly been the laggard when it comes to software and tech. So if you look at the major issues, 70% of employees are dissatisfied or disengaged. 80% of that dissatisfaction comes from their line manager or direct manager. That leads to, you know, massive turnover every year. So 20% of employees turn over every single year. In fact, once you join a new company, 30% of new employees are looking for a job within 6 months. And this whole process, yeah, it's amazing. Recruitment alone is a $500 billion annual industry. And so what we wanted to do was apply some rigor, some science, and some data to HR in a way that hadn't been done before. So we started out by building some software. So we have a tool called the First 100 Days, which is an onboarding tool. And then we wanted to reinvent how performance reviews are done. Performance reviews are a terrible, terrible process. So instead of actually just a goal-based process, we actually have created a formula of performance, an algorithm. You look at your skills, you look at your relationships, and you also look at your delivery. So these three aspects of the pyramid form your monthly performance reviews. So we did that, and we've actually reinvented how performance reviews are actually done. What we realized is that this data could be used amazingly if you evolve it into the blockchain. So the major problem we're solving is when you're actually looking for good candidates, they're extremely difficult to find. Just shotgun approach, you put a job ad out there and you're hoping for the best. So for example, if you're looking for a blockchain developer in Japan who's got 5 years of experience, who's been a people manager and been scored 80% and above by their manager, how difficult is it to find that person? Well, nigh on impossible. But because we take our performance data and put that into the blockchain and make it searchable, it has a massive impact on recruitment. So it's going to make finding candidates and getting them on board much easier. It's also going to revolutionize background checks and, of course, performance management. And all these things are the number one issues that are keeping CEOs awake at night. People management is the number one issue in business today.
Sure. So in terms of, let's talk about a little bit about privacy, because that's probably a natural question when you start talking about blockchain. Who's actually controlling the extent of the performance data and reviews that actually are available for consumption on the blockchain?
Fantastic question. This is actually one of our biggest selling points. Employees control their own data. So right now, when you do performance reviews, your company will actually give you a rating, maybe a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or a percentage score out of 100 or a 1 to 10 score. And that information is lost. You don't have access to that as an employee. If you leave that company or even get a promotion within your company, all that history, that record is nowhere. Now, of course, there are kind of big fiascos like Facebook taking data and using it in the wrong way. So we've taken the opposite approach. We've said, look, we believe that performance data and employee data should be owned by the individual, the employee. So they will have an ongoing record of their performance put into our wave-based blockchain that they control. If they want to make their information available to potential employers, they control that. If they want to actually make it available for background checks or performance between companies, again, they control that. So the number one and one of the most unique selling points to what we do, employees control everything.
That's absolutely fantastic. And is there also an economic story in terms of disruption here where by having that information available on a blockchain, you're cutting down on sort of the friction costs of sourcing new employees for growing businesses like a fintech company looking for a blockchain engineer? Have you any ideas and studies about what sort of the market size opportunity of, say, a full implementation of the PeopleWave infrastructure would look like?
Well, I can throw some numbers out there. So if you are looking for a new employee, generally, as I said, it's a shotgun approach. You put a job ad up there, and let's call that $100 for a cost to put the job ad up there. Number two, if you're working with a recruiter, they generally charge about 25% of an annual salary. So a person earning, say, $100,000 a year, you're going to have to pay the recruiter $25,000 for that employee. When people leave, and again, 20% of the workforce turns over every single year, that costs up to 300 times their salary. On average, it's about 30 to 300 times their salary. Let's kind of split the difference and call it 50% of the person's annual salary is lost productivity and other costs. So replacing people is hugely inefficient and costs a lot of money. When you look at PeopleWave, what we're doing is we're cutting down costs massively. So there's at least a close to a 900+% cost saving if you're actually searching a wave-based solution for recruitment. We also know that we're going to be keeping people longer. So when they're using our performance tools and they're using onboarding as well as using our wave-based solution for recruitment, people tend to stay longer. It's fairer, it's more open, and it's more data-driven. So,
That's
and
fantastic. Yeah.
yeah, and one of the biggest things we're going to be doing at post ICO when we've got our working capital is putting a lot of effort into the research behind this, putting out some studies and research reports on why our wave-based recruitment, background check, and performance management solution is infinitely better than Excel spreadsheets, doing it manually, or the traditional way of doing recruitment and
Sure.
management.
So it's really interesting how you're approaching the problem from both the attracting and sourcing the talent, but just as important is retaining the talent, right? And
Yeah.
so it's sort of an end-to-end solution for people management. And tell us a little bit about the token economics with PeopleWave.
Sure, sure. So let me explain the kind of solution in a few minutes. So what we do is effectively we take the performance review data and we put that into the wave-based blockchain. So what we're getting is every single one of the PeopleWave's customers or people who are using our platform, all of that data automatically moves into the blockchain. Right now we have over 400 customers or businesses using the platform. So all of that employee data goes there. And we're adding between 1 and 7 customers every day. So more and more people coming into the platform. Number two, we're actually adding, we're doing partnerships. So it doesn't matter whether it's the PeopleWave software or whether it's the third-party software, we can equalize that data and actually put it into a blockchain solution as well. Third, we're incentivizing individuals to put their own data into the blockchain and they get PeopleWave tokens to do that. And fourth, we're pursuing significant scalable partnerships. And those are the significant software companies. And as in a couple of examples, LinkedIn, Microsoft, Salesforce, those type of companies that have a very large installed base, we can take en masse a large batch of customers and put it in the wave-based solution. So that means that over time, we're going to quickly establish a very large database of employee data and real performance data there. How it works is, if you look at both sides of the equation, the PeopleWave token sits in the middle as the economy and the market between job seekers who are looking for a job and companies that want to do background checks or want to actually recruit people. The way that we describe ourselves is that we're a bit like the Google for job seekers and a bit like LinkedIn for companies doing recruitment. And I'll explain that. So as a job seeker, you might be very interested in working at Apple as a marketing manager. And right now, all you can do is apply against the job ad that Apple puts up there. With our solution, it's an auction-based system. So if you're interested in that, you can actually spend, as a job seeker, spend some PeopleWave tokens and ensure that you're in the top 1, 2, or 3 listings when Apple is searching for that marketing manager role.
I see.
Because instead of doing a job ad, it's going to be a listing of the best stacked ranked employees who meet their search criteria from number 1 through to 100. So you can actually, as an individual or a job seeker, pay PeopleWave tokens to be listed at the very top and be seen first by those recruiters.
Gotcha.
On the other side, the economy works because companies need to spend PeopleWave tokens to do a search. So if I'm looking for a Japanese blockchain developer with 5 years of experience, has been a people manager and managed 3 or more people at 80, who's scored an 80% above, you can search that and actually get a stacked rank list from number 1 through to 100, the best people who fit that criteria. So they would spend PeopleWave tokens to do that search on a pay-per-use or a subscription model. And if they choose to pay on a subscription model, monthly, annually, or longer, it works a lot like LinkedIn's current recruitment solution. So that's why it's very easy to see we're a bit like Google for recruitment, and we're a bit like LinkedIn for companies that are actually looking to get a subscription.
And have you sketched out what you believe the talent acquisition costs reduction would be using this model versus, you mentioned the typical sort of brick and mortar old school recruiting is like a 20%. Where do you think you can narrow that down to?
Well, it's driven by market forces to some extent. So where we are at the moment, we know we're at least 10 times cheaper, at least. And what we'll be doing as part of our working capital and the next iteration as we build out the wave-based solution is exactly quantifying, depending on the company size, their turnover, what that solution looks like. But again, the benchmarks are 25% of a person's annual salary to a recruiter, at least $100 for a job ad to be put out there on a platform like LinkedIn. When we're going for our Cryptos listing, our PeopleWave tokens are going to be listed at 10 cents USD equivalent. So it depends on how many tokens you need to buy to do a transaction, but it's going to be minimum 10 times cheaper, but effectively the whole business will be a game changer in terms of the price difference between traditional and what we do with PeopleWave.
Absolutely. So let's talk about, as you roll out with additional clients and more people start putting their data onto the platform, where are you thinking around scalability and how quickly people will be able to source the information or share their data?
Well, first of all, there's three ways of doing it. So we're incentivizing individuals to upload their own information. So maybe you have a previous performance record from a company. You find that's maybe out of date. You want to put in your own information. Maybe have a verified university degree, put in a little bit of other information around personal data of your own. Every time you do that, you will be rewarded with PWV or PeopleWave tokens.
Okay.
Second, every company that chooses to use our software, our traditional SaaS software, first 100 days performance review software, all of those customers automatically port over to the wave-based solution.
I see.
And number three, we're pursuing significant software partnerships with large scalable businesses. And again, this is the LinkedIns, the Facebooks, the Salesforces, the Oracles of the world. We're kind of working with those guys to use their existing database to actually just move over to the wave-based solution. We have a series of MOUs coming out soon. Can't talk about them yet, but hopefully that'll spark a bit more interest over the next few weeks.
Fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about one of the questions that always comes up, and I think you've hinted at it, is, at the conclusion of the ICO, what are some of your plans for the capital that you've raised during this process?
It's all about growth. Where we are at the moment is that we're headquartered in Singapore, but we have operations in 4 countries. That's Australia, Philippines, and Hong Kong, as well as Singapore. One of the key things we're going to do is quickly expand internationally. We know that about 50% of the HR tech market sits in the US. So we're going to be opening up in the US, and we're going to be opening up in Europe, as well as continuing our Asia Pacific expansion. Number two, it's all about the tech, right? So we're building a wave-based solution. We're building the My Wave-based solution for individuals to upload their data. We're building the background check and the recruitment modules as quickly as we can. And then the final aspect of it is that we're doing sales and marketing. So we want to continue to get good news out to the market. So we're putting a lot of effort into making sure that we communicate clearly and make sure that the brand of PeopleWave is as big as it can be. Our goal, within a few years, we're going to be the biggest HR tech company in the world, and this ICO is going to help us get there.
Fantastic, fantastic. So let's talk a little bit about the ICO. So I think you addressed, the why. I know there's a lot of information on on the website. If you just go to cryptos.com/ICO/PWV, it's going to be ticker PWV. You'll be able to find a lot of fantastic information. But why don't you talk about a little bit of the mechanics of the ICO that's kicking off in actually 1 day and 2 hours, one day and 45 minutes, actually.
Yeah, well, I'll go through the few common questions we get. So we're releasing a total of 1.2 billion tokens. Now, people ask us why that many, why that number? Well, it's, as we talked about in terms of the tokenomics, what we want to do is give every single employee in the world PeopleWave tokens. We want to effectively get a database, so our blockchain solution, with as many employees in as possible. And to do that, the more we add employees, the more tokens are going to be given away, and there's going to be a scarcity of tokens pretty quickly. So 1.2 billion may feel a lot to some people, but frankly, we don't think we've got enough. And that's going to help push up the token price in the future.
Love the ambition.
Yeah. So 1.2 billion tokens is where we're going. We're releasing 42% in total for our public sale. So we divided that up. Recently, we just hit our soft cap. So we've just raised about 2 million USD equivalent when we've gone out to do some private sale and actually help us get it started. On the Cryptos exchange, we're looking to raise 5 million to start off with. And we're releasing 50 million PWV tokens to get there. On day one, we're doing something very special. We're not greedy people. What we really want is to make sure that we can focus on our core purpose and mission of making work fair. So what we're doing is we want to bring in as many individuals, get as many people involved in the PeopleWave business and the platform as possible. So we're offering a 95% discount for 24 hours only, 1 day only. And after that, we're going to be releasing the other tokens at a significant bonus. We start off at 75% and then we go down over time. So if all goes well, we're keeping some of those tokens aside for private sale. So we have quite a significant interest from VCs, funds, and some pools. So we've got some deals going on there. And we're actually pricing it at the equivalent of about 10 cents USD at the moment, or whatever the ETH equivalent is this particular time. I think about a day ago it was at 6,888, but again, it changes all the time, right? So
Sure.
we'll have that updated before we go live. We go live tomorrow, which is the 31st of May at 5 p.m. Singapore time, and we go from there.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So Damien, let's talk a little bit about the mechanics of the ICO. I think we first started discussing, helping you on your ICO journey. I want to say it was back in March even. What was some of your thought process around partnering with ourselves here at QUOINE and utilizing ICO mission control versus, a do-it-yourself type of scenario?
Yeah, well, a couple of things. First of all, you guys are awesome. QUOINE is awesome. Cryptos as an exchange is awesome. I mean, it's fantastic. So when we were looking around for the biggest and best exchanges in Asia, obviously you guys came top of mind. So QUOINE and Cryptos, best of the best. Second, the ICO mission control specifically just makes things so much easier. We know what we're doing in terms of technology and ICOs, but there's building a website, KYC, registration, dealing with fraud, security, and also the marketing that goes along with that. So why the Cryptos exchange and why working with QUOINE was very attractive is that A, you have hundreds of thousands of KYC'd and registered contributors and investors. You've got a massive marketing machine that just does it all for us. Of course, we'll be working with you to do that, but again, your marketing is second to none. And third, actually having those registered and taking care of the KYC and security is huge. We've heard so many stories in the past of, exchanges and other companies not dealing with security or KYC particularly well. The fact that you've actually been compliant with Japanese government and other governments around the world is a big tick for us. So it just, the validation, the security, and making it just an easy step-by-step wizard-like process is why I wanted to work with you.
That's fantastic, and it's well appreciated. If I think about our motivations to build our solution, it's really so that, people like yourselves can work on the disruption in your industry. So I'd rather know that Damien and your team is working on finding solutions for HR management to better retain employees and better to match job seekers with employers rather than comparing selfies with passports, right? So if we need that with the ISO mission control, I'm incredibly happy so that you can focus on your project and you can focus on your core competency. And for us, like you said, our core competency is compliance with AML, KYC, and onboarding, token distribution, pricing and marketing, all those good things. And, we're just really pleased to have such a world-class team and such an innovative project as really our second partner on the platform.
It's great. Yeah, we want to be in the business of actually making work fair and putting people first and solving HR tech issues. You're in the business of doing amazing ICOs and dealing with investors and contributors. It's a match made in heaven.
Great. Damien, thanks very much. We're really excited for tomorrow. And, subsequently, just so everyone knows, subsequent to the ICO, there'll be a listing on Cryptos. There'll be more announcements, but the listing will happen, in short order once the ICO is completed. There'll be plenty of announcements about that, and people have a chance to join in the secondary market if they didn't have a chance to participate in the ICO.
Fantastic. Well, if I can leave a message to everyone, go buy some PWV tokens, get it on Cryptos. They're going to run out very quickly. So thanks very much, Seth. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Damien.